Welcome to the MHC Professional Development Series focusing on the subject of depression. I am your host, Angela Benedict, CEO of the Military Healing Center. Depression and brain fog is an inflammation issue that could be caused by long-term cortisol exposure in the frontal region of the brain. It can also be brain fatigue caused by excessive worry when the mind can't shut off, as in anxiety. It is most likely a transfer of inflammation from the stomach. In the last video, the role of neurotransmitters in the body was discussed. Neurotransmitters are required for us to live. When they are out of balance, the body treats this as a life-threatening situation. Any life-threatening situation activates the immune and endocrine systems in our bodies. When our stomach is out of balance due to inflammation caused by gluten sensitivity or a bacteria imbalance, GAD enzymes from our pancreas are taken out in a friendly fire situation when our immune system tries to regulate the inflammation. No GAD, no GABA. GABA is an inhibitory neurotransmitter that creates calm. No GABA creates an anxiety loop. Serotonin is made in various parts of the brain, but also made in the stomach, up to 95% of it. When our gut is out of balance, it is not possible to create enough serotonin. There is a correlation between low serotonin and irritable bowel syndrome. No serotonin, anxiety response. Stomach health determines brain health. Bad bacteria and inflammation go up and down the vagus nerve, which is the pathway between gut and brain. Dopamine can't be made when there's high levels of brain inflammation. Dopamine also requires transporter chemicals that are created in the gut, like amino acids. When the gut doesn't make them and these chemicals don't go up to the brain, no dopamine is made. So predominantly to fix depression, you need to fix inflammation, which means correcting gut-brain health, which is most easily done through improved diet. Examples of autoimmune diseases are multiple sclerosis, type 1 diabetes, Crohn's disease, lupus, rheumatoid arthritis, GAD autoimmunity. Autoimmunity issues affect the whole body: heart, brain, nerves, muscles, skin, eyes, joints, lungs, kidneys, glands, digestive tract, and blood vessels. An autoimmune disease occurs when the immune system recognizes a problem, sends out chemical reactive molecules to fix it, it doesn't get fixed, and more inflammation occurs, so the immune system sends out more and more chemicals until the immune system is exhausted, and inflammation is widespread. The basis of most disease in the body is inflammation, or rather, inflammation in excessive amounts. We create inflammation as part of our immune system's warning process. If we have an injury like a sprained ankle, for example, inflammation marks the spot in redness, heat, and swelling for the red blood cells and anti-inflammatory chemicals in our bodies to respond to that area and take care of the healing process for the injury. Acute inflammation is the first responder team in our body, and we need them. Excessive and chronic inflammation damages cells at the molecular level. What does it feel like? Ongoing body pain, allergies or asthma, high blood pressure, blood sugar problems, constant fatigue, brain fog. What causes this? The main culprit is the standard North American diet, SAD. Each cell is damaged by excessive sugar, which causes inflammation within the cell, so the cell becomes inflamed on the inside and can't function properly. On the outside, the cell wall is made up of soft fats that create the membrane of the cell. We only get these fats through what we eat. After World War II, the North American diet changed significantly. There was a boom of industry and all the expansion that went with it. Waistlines expanded right along with everything else and have been ever since. A car in every driveway meant we were exercising less. A TV set in every house meant we were inside on the couch more. The war had created surpluses of poisonous gases that became pesticides. Cheap, high-calorie foods were also in great supply, especially anything with corn. TV advertising told the population what to eat. Fast and cheap junk food was the rage and began the obesity trend we see today. We started using margarine instead of butter. Interestingly, the trends of heart disease, obesity, and diabetes that now are the world's largest diseases are connected to the low-fat, high-sugar, highly processed food trends. After the 1970s, there was a major change in the standard diet again that meant far more grains and sugars were present in what we ate. This created an observable change in ourselves. We also began to more heavily use homogenized oils, corn, soy, and other vegetable oils. These are molecularly not compatible with the fats we need to make our cells. These fats create a hard layer over our cells and damage the receptors that each cell is covered with. Chemical molecules link up to these receptors on each cell to complete each specific chemical process. Broken receptors mean this process isn't completed. Good fats help keep our cells healthy. A managed amount of sugar, which our brain needs, is okay, but excessive sugar causes inflammation. Luckily, we are recreating ourselves all the time and replenish our supply of cells. But then if our diet remains the same, each new cell is then again inflamed and damaged. Our bodies replace cells at different times dependent on the function of the cell. Those that get the most wear and tear are replaced the most often. Stomach lining, 5 days. Other parts of our bodies go much longer. The interior of the stomach is thought to be fully replaced after 15 years. The heart, eyes, and brain don't seem to regenerate much at all. One of the areas of the brain we know does replace itself is the hippocampus. That is the center of learning and memory. We also know that excessive long-term cortisol exposure greatly affects the hippocampus, creating memory loss and cognitive function issues. Neurogenesis research needs to continue so that we can understand more about how our brain is rebuilding itself. This endless damaging process creates a high level of stress in the body. Cells are literally being destroyed by what people are eating. And this is chronic, ongoing day after day. Anything that creates a threat within the body triggers the immune system and the endocrine system to respond to the threat. This creates an anxiety loop. Our immune system should be called our defense system. Our first line of defense is our skin. The membrane that controls our temperature, water levels, and acts as a buffer between us and our environment is always on the job, trying to keep bad stuff out. Every cell in our body has a similar kind of skin, a membrane that is also regulating the function of the cell and trying to keep bad things out. Our bodily fluids carry enzymes to counter bacterial attacks, like in our tears, saliva, and mucus. Stomach acid is another one of our major defense mechanisms, destroying any bacteria that may have come in on our food. Our stomach is supported by some of our smallest organs, the tonsils, lymph glands, the thymus, appendix, and spleen. Bone marrow is also part of our defense system. The mucus in our nose and throat is always trapping pathogens as we breathe in so they can be transported out of our body. Our tonsils come into contact with pathogens almost immediately, as the tonsils are in our throat. The tonsils activate the entire immune or defense system immediately if they detect trouble. Years ago, many doctors didn't understand the jobs that our tonsils or our appendix do to keep our bodies safe, and if they became inflamed, they were surgically removed instead of treated and healed. The appendix in some people has been removed as part of another surgical procedure because doctors didn't think the appendix actually did anything. Our bodies don't come with spare parts. Every part of us is doing something important. The thymus is a little gland that sits behind our breastbone above the heart. This is where inspectors are sent out, which look at every cell to detect problems. These are called T lymphocytes, or T cells. These T cells coordinate the immune system function and constantly watch surfaces of cells for any changes. These cells are programmed in the thymus to discern what structures on cell surfaces are self and which are non-self. Anything that is non-self is identified and reported. When identified, T cells become aggressive T killer cells, which kill pathogens. As we age, the size of our thymus and the amount of bone marrow we have both decrease. Bone marrow is where most of our defense cells are grown before they are sent to the thymus for training. After T cells can tell friend from foe, they are sent to the lymph nodes, tonsils, spleen, and bowel, where they have constant contact and battles with non-self substances and pathogens. Lymph fluids act as a filtering system between blood and tissue that cleans out impurities before fluids are recycled back into the bloodstream. This provides a transport system to move T cells to locations and transport pathogens out of the system. This keeps teams of killer cells on the move and the blood clean. Much of this work of cleaning the blood is done through the spleen. More than half of all cells that produce antibodies, or T cells, are located in the bowel, especially in the small bowel or small intestine and appendix. These cells recognize pathogens and other non-self substances, mark and destroy them. They also store information on these enemy cells to be able to react faster next time. The human body contains 10 times more bacteria than human cells. The large intestine contains so much bacteria that pathogens usually have a hard time settling there unless the bacterial balance is way off. This is called dysbiosis. In that case, there is more harmful bacteria than good in the large intestine or gut. Maintaining good balance in the gut is essential to assist the defense system in controlling the flow of pathogens. Food is our number one environmental input for our bodies. It is fuel, but it is also information, broken down into chemicals that become part of critical processes. It either assists the body in staying healthy or it is working against us. When the gut is unhealthy, the whole body quickly can be overrun with harmful bacteria causing inflammation. Our defense system is counting on the gut to stay healthy. Brain fog can be caused by excessive cortisol, fatigue from anxiety, or inflammation. Chemical imbalances in our bodies can be reacted to by our immune and endocrine systems as life-threatening situations, which triggers dangerous levels of cortisol. Diet is the largest input human beings have that has the most instant effect on health or disease in the body. Thank you for taking the time to attend this training. Please join me again for the next training video in the series on depression, video 3 of 4, Adrenal Fatigue. For all training options, go to the MHC site at militaryhealingcenter.net. Be well, stay safe, and thank you for your service.